Good afternoon, everyone. How's it going? It's time for the final injury report of the 2021 Seahawks season. Obviously, a relatively low stakes game that a lot of people probably just want to get over with. Probably something where people are just trying to get it past them so they can start thinking about this offseason. What are we going to do? What are we not going to do? I'll talk about that a little more tomorrow, but we still got one more game. We're going to play it. We're going to see what's up. We're going to try to learn what we can learn. So, with that in mind, let's jump into this injury report, and it's fairly straightforward. So, out for this game includes Bobby Wagner. So, his desperate attempt to somehow magically heal himself in time to play against the Cardinals did not work out. He is out and will not be playing. Now, there were some interesting things said about Bobby Wagner's status with this team going forward. I'll address those tomorrow, but suffice to say that he is out and he will probably watch Jordan Brooks break his single season tackle record, actually, which kind of crazy that we have two linebackers on this team with that many tackles, but it really goes to show that this defense has been on the field a ridiculous number of snaps this year. So, I mean, it's impressive on their parts, but it's not really a record that you want, now is it? But anyway, also out will be John Reed with a concussion, so he is not going to make it back from that Lions game. Now, we are getting Sidney Jones back off the COVID list, so Sidney Jones probably just steps in there. But you may also see a little bit of work from guys like Michael Jackson and Bless You on Austin, which I think is somewhat valuable. Now, if recent times have taught us anything, it's that as long as we have Pete Carroll around here, we will be able to find quality cornerbacks. And with the possible exception of Trey Flowers, none of these guys are going to look terrible. But I still want to see these guys. I still want to see those guys. So Michael Jackson and Bless You on Austin should have a shot to get on the field with no John Reed. And Brandon Shell is also out with a shoulder injury, which I think we already kind of knew he was out for the season. This is not a surprise. But this obviously clears the way for Jake Curhan to play the whole game, which is at this point very much a good thing. He needs to continue to get reps. He needs to continue to get opportunities to show what he can do. So with all due respect to Brandon Shell, who is not a bad player, I don't think missing him is a significant loss at this point in time. And I would call it a good thing that we're getting a chance to see what Curhan can do going forward. So those three players are out, and that's it for the guarantees going into this Sunday's game in Arizona. Okay, as for the questionable players, we've got three as well. Will Dissly is questionable and did not practice on Friday, so his odds of playing to me are a little bit long. Obviously, it's not the most important thing in the world because, honestly, against all odds, Colby Parkinson has emerged as a competent run blocker for the Seahawks in recent times. A lot of our big runs have come behind Colby in blocking, but would like to see Dissly. There's some chance this is his last game as a Seahawk. I don't think that he's going anywhere, but it's possible. So Dissly, questionable. Gabe Jackson also questionable, and he's played basically every snap until this most recent game. So at least he waited until the games didn't mean anything for him to actually start missing time. He's generally been a pretty durable player. But I'm interested to see what we do with Gabe's position if he is out, because he also did not practice on Friday. Do you roll with Jamarco Jones, who was just recently activated? Damian Lewis is off the COVID list, I believe. So Damian Lewis could move back to right guard for a game, but at this point, I don't know what good you think that does, really. If you really do view Damian Lewis as a long-term solution at left guard, you probably want to leave him there, as much as I don't think that's reasonable at this point. So I don't know what you do with that guard spot if Gabe Jackson is actually out. I hope it's not Kyle Fuller. I don't really like Jamarco Jones that much either. I think he's probably pretty much shot, but that would probably be preferable. But we'll see what they do. Maybe it'll be Phil Haynes. Maybe you slide Damian Lewis to right and put Phil Haynes at left. I think that would be my favorite. So hopefully we do that. And finally, Carlos Dunlap is questionable after limited participation in practice on Friday. So he'll probably play, but he won't play that much. He doesn't really have anything to gain from playing, and neither do we. So I doubt he'll play very much, but he is questionable technically. And that's it. DK Metcalf limited in practice this week, but he still still has no injury designation, so he will play almost certainly. Dwayne Brown got some resting veteran time this week, but he will be playing in what should be his final game as a Seahawk. And that's about it for the Seahawks injuries, so not too bad. One non-injury related player who will be out is Ryan Neal. He has COVID. Almost certainly going to miss this game unless he has two negative tests in the next couple days. And like I said, we're getting Sydney and Damian Lewis back. So our COVID situation's not terrible, but Ryan Neal probably out. Okay, so real quick, let's look at the Cardinals injury report, see what they've got. We've got Zach Allen questionable for this game, one of their defensive linemen. I remember talking about him a little bit when he was that year he was in the draft. Chase Edmonds is out, which is actually a pretty significant deal for the Cardinals. He plays a relatively key role for their offense. So if he's out, that takes away some of the things they can do in terms of checkdowns and screenplays. Chase Edmonds was a part of that. Demetrius Harris, one of their reserve tight ends behind Zach Ertz, is questionable. Jordan Phillips, one of their defensive linemen, who was a guy who I remember really liking, but it hasn't totally manifested for him yet. But I still think there's some talent there. He's out, so not going to have to worry about him. Marco Wilson, who was, I believe, the cornerback at Florida who threw a shoe to cost his team the game, is out. James Conner questionable, and that's a pretty big deal. I think he missed the Cowboys game, so I don't know if he's going to play in this game. It doesn't look great for him, but that's a very important part of that offense this year. He's played well, looked better. In my estimation, he looks better in Arizona than he did in Pittsburgh, so that would be a big loss if Arizona is missing their two top running backs. So for a run defense that is holding up pretty well overall this season, should be something they can just take care of. Dennis Gardeck is questionable, and Rondell Moore is out. And this is on top of DeAndre Hopkins, who is already out. So the Cardinals are going to be thin at running back and thin at receiver. So even though we may end up being a little thin at defensive back because we're not going to have Ryan Neal, and on top of the players we already don't have, like Jamal Adams, and we're a little thin at running back with I'm sorry, not running back, excuse me, linebacker with no Wagner. And by the way, I forgot to mention this, defensive tackle, we don't totally know what we're going to get because Al Woods is, I believe, on the COVID list. He has a chance to come off in time for the game, but for the moment, we may be dealing with a defensive tackle crisis. So you may see some players being shifted around a little bit. You might see Miles Adams get more snaps. But even with all that, it seems like a relatively fair fight. So interested to see how we handle all this. I'll definitely do a last-minute game notes video before the game on whether or not some of these guys managed to clear their COVID tests. And that's pretty much it to my knowledge. Obviously, with the Omicron stuff going around in the NFL right now, a player can be declared out at a moment's notice out of nowhere, so things can change quickly. But I believe that's all we got to worry about right now, so I'll see you guys later tonight in stream. Peace out. Go Hawks. Final game of the year on deck. See y'all later.